Well, howdy do. Welcome to week 2 of our preseason scouting for the Ragtag Stag Baggers. I actually just finished scouting out a wildlife management area that I never really spent any time hunting in my childhood while I was here, because I used to be kind of a lazy hunter, I'll admit that. I never wanted to walk far. I just had our spots already picked out, and over time the deer patterned us and changed, and I didn't, and I suffered the last few years for the most part with even seeing a lot of deer, especially anything good. So we're changing our tactics up quite a bit this year. We're much more willing to walk further, get into the places that are thicker and nastier. We have changed our scouting tactics, what we're looking for and stuff like that. So I actually didn't go as far as I was planning on going. This wildlife management area only has one access, and you can walk 2 or 3 miles back. I didn't even make it that far before I started running into really good sign, and I spent a lot of time scouting the closer areas because there was plenty of good sign, and didn't make it so far back. I ran out of time. So hopefully the sign that I found will be good. I'll make it in there eventually to go further back, but if the good sign is closer up, there's no point in going further back, in my opinion. So we'll see. All these things you see flying are grasshoppers. This whole power line is full of them. I'm not too far from the truck here, and I'm in between a pasture and a grown-up power line behind my back here. And that power line has the main road that people walk in this wildlife management area on. And I'm on a really good trail that parallels the power line in this pasture, just right in this little block of woods here. You just see it plain as day. Right up through there. I followed that trail that was running parallel with the pasture and the power line, and I followed it for about 300 yards from where I last showed you guys the trail. I had to skirt around a lot of it because it was just too thick for a full-grown man to even walk through. The trails went through there, but it was enormously thick with briars, and I don't feel like getting cut up today, to be honest. So I cut around it, got back in, and started following the trails again, and I found a rub line about 100 yards or so from where the corner, where these woods run up to the corner of the pasture here. And I think there's some oaks over and a tree line on the pasture that the deer are going to feed on at night. So a buck looks like he's coming out of somewhere where he's bedding. I've been looking for his bed and in places that I can, and I haven't been able to find it. And this buck has a rub line coming out up to the corner of this pasture, and he's probably staging until it gets dark enough in these woods until he feels comfortable to go out there and feed. So just show you a couple of these rubs here. I don't know, just because of the rub doesn't tell you the size of the buck, but this buck has absolutely shredded one of these trees. There's one. That's not the one he shredded, but that's this year. It's not a very big one, but it is a fresher rub. And the tree shredded is right here. I mean, it was just absolutely demolished. And that looks like it's this year too. But I mean, he just completely ripped the tree up. There's that first rub I showed you. And the trails go through here, and the corner of the pasture is about 100 yards or so down there. And there's a lot more rubs and a couple trails crossing the fence that go into the pasture. The only issue I would have with hunting up there at the corner of the pasture is access. The way this land is set up, that's private land, the pasture is. I'm on public land right now. The public land borders this. The power line is public land. And that's where the walking trail is to come into this property. And that's the only access too. So I'm gonna have to ask these people for permission to access the public land from their land, that would be the best way to do it. We'll see how it goes. Might try to figure out who owns it today. Go knock on their door and see. There's the corner of the pasture right here. There's a fresh rub. There's an older rub behind it from another year. There's another older rub right there. That might be, it's hard to tell. These bucks, or bucks, that's another old rub from last year. This buck is coming up here on these trails, coming up to this corner. And the trail splits when it gets close to this corner here. It makes it kind of hard to figure out where you would want to get to hunt this deer. He's got a trail here. This is where the trail comes. And when you get to about here, the trail splits. One goes that way, crosses the fence up there. One goes this way, crosses the fence over there. And it's kind of thick in here. So picking the right tree is going to be essential, because you don't know which trail a buck might walk on if he decides to come here during the day. Right here at the corner, and if you look up this tree line, there's some oaks in this tree line here, especially that little tree right here. That's a white oak. The deer really like white oaks around here. They tend to prefer them over any other kind of oak, except for maybe a red oak sometimes. But it's just completely surrounded by pasture, so I feel like the deer probably don't feel too comfortable going out there during the day. His house is just up there. I'm walking down this power line, trying to get down to my furthest spots that I wanted to check. I'm looking on the maps, and I found a buck's bed right here. It's matted down. There's a tree behind him, and there's another shredded tree. I mean, it's completely broken. Like this deer is getting in the dang tree stuck in his antlers, and he's breaking the tree off. That's the tree. This is it right here. It was up like this at some point, and he just completely, and it was not dead either, because you can bend it here and it just won't break. This deer absolutely shredded it. That is pretty wild. We'll see if we can maybe find where this buck is going when he gets out of bed. I'm following this trail off of this power line right here. Thick woods. So when you get up in the woods like these, sometimes it's hard to follow the trail. The trails, because they don't always follow one specific trail in these woods. Alright everybody, I didn't have the camera out when I was scouting this, but I found an amazing pinch point on this land here. Over there, if you can see where it gets open, that's a swampy area. And right here is the hillside to that pasture. You can see the fence up there maybe. There's an old road bed that goes right through here. And it meets up with the power line that I found a couple beds on from the buck. It's tore up with old rugs and rugs from this year. It's a very nice pinch point. They just stay in between the swamp and this pasture here. And they come off and go on to that power line. You can just see it plain as day through there. So right through here, the deer walk. So we'll walk it back up to the power line, and the deer have a trail. The buck has a trail coming from his bed straight to here. There's rubs facing both ways. So I'm assuming he probably uses it in the morning and evening. The only problem is access yet again, because there's only one way to access, and it's down the power line where he's bedding. So I'm gonna have to talk to the people who are in that pasture and hope they'll just let me walk across it when I want to hunt back here. The pasture's there. Swamp's just over there. We're taking the easy route by walking on this road bed. Now I did find another set of boot tracks somewhere. I can't remember where I saw them exactly, but I don't know if it's another hunter or just maybe that family came around here for some reason. I'm definitely dealing with more pressure. Again. Right here. That is not my boot track. That is someone else's. The Bugis Trail right through here. That little opening up there is where the power line starts. And then we're here at the power line. Not a big pinch point, which is perfect. You don't need a big pinch point. Just one big enough to get in and hunt and kill a buck. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm out here scouting, right, not far from the house that I'm living in at the current moment. It's very swampy and thick back here, and I found a big fresh bed from a buck. I'm in some swampy, thick stuff. He's got to be a good one. It's a big bed. It looks like he's been, I think I found another one over here too. But just check this out, guys. That's his bed right there. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it's a little bit of a depression right in here. Bucks tend to bed with a tree to their back, and that's the creek back here. He's bedding right next to this creek, and all of this thick stuff. I mean, it is thick up in here. And we'll see if we can get some of the hair. Let me see. There's deer hair right there. That's how you definitely know you're in a bed, when they got hair. But it looked like he was eating on some kind of fruit. Something. There's something that grows around here. This stuff right here. I can't tell what it is. Maybe a pear? But he was eating a pear or something, and it may not be far away. But I gotta find him. This might be a buck worth hunting. So I'm sitting in this deer's bed right now trying to figure out what that fruit was that he was eating. And I realized that it's a pawpaw. I started looking up above me. There's pawpaw trees. There's a little kind of like grove of pawpaw trees here. And he's bedding right under them and eating them. Look at this. There's a group of them right there in the tree. And these are pawpaw trees, and there's a bunch of them. All those leaves right there are pawpaw trees. There's a pawpaw on the ground that just fell. This deer's also bedding over here. I don't know if I see any other beds yet. Not at the moment. And this is his track right here. It's a pretty decently sized track. I mean, it's 3 fingers wide for me. That's his walking track. That's a big buck. He shredded up a couple trees right here this year already, losing his velvet. I'm in a bedding area. Here's his other bed right here. Now I gotta keep asking how. How do you hunt this buck? Why is he here? Where can you set up on him? Where is he going when he gets out of his bed? Where is he coming from when he's coming to bed? Those are the questions you gotta ask. And now we gotta find some trails that he's walking out on. where he's going, where he's coming from, why he's going there, why he's coming from there. How can you set up on this deer? So I'm following this deer's trails. I'm trying to. But they kind of peter out after you get out of the thick stuff. It opens up a fair amount in here. As you can see, I'm maybe 75 yards from his bed. And it gets really open. And for some reason the deer, they don't really like to follow a single trail when they get in the open woods like this. It's very hard to pinpoint their movement. But I was looking at this on the online map before I even got to scout it, and I'm on a transition line between pines and these hardwoods, and then the creek is just right over there. The pines are over here, as you can see. I'm up there, and I'm right on the transition where there's just hardwoods. The deer like stuff like this for some reason. They like to follow these edges. They are creatures of edge. So that buck seems like he's coming out from his beds over there, and he seems like he's coming out at an angle this way, going somewhere over here. I don't really know where he's going to. There's no ag fields or anything this way, so we'll keep walking. I hope we'll find something. This is a wickedly big tree. Old. There's a rub this deer made in this tree right here, but this tree behind it, you can see all it's marred up from where his brow tines and other tines have probably been, maybe not brow tines, but definitely other tines have been hitting this tree in the back here. Alright everybody, so I have been trying to follow this deer's trails in and out of his beds, and his bed's somewhere over there, maybe 60 yards away. And he's got a trail that it stays very thick on this creek. He's got a trail that hugs all of this thick stuff up in the creek, and he comes out right there on this tip, somewhere around on this tip. And he's crossing. Looks like his main crossing is over here. Right there. It's not many tracks. I think it's just this one deer that's using this. I mean, you can't know it's no obvious trail right there, but there is a trail that comes out. And the bridge to the road is right there. This buck is staying like within 150 yards of the road.
Well, why are you still filming?